Before you spend that loose change, stop and listen, because the everyday 25-cent 1967 quarter sitting quietly in your pocket, purse, or coin jar could be hiding something incredible, something life-changing. Imagine flipping over an ordinary quarter and realizing you're holding a coin not worth, depending on the condition and rarity. Yes, there are 1,967 quarters that collectors today are fighting over, and you might already own one without even knowing it.so. Don't blink, because in the next few minutes I'll show you Moneybag, the most valuable 1967 quarter-dollar types, collision rare errors, and varieties that make the price explode, how to check your own coins step-by-step, pushpin, and exactly what separates a 25-cent coin from one worth a fortune. Watch this video to the end, because the best values and high payout examples are revealed in the final section. You do not want to miss it.to. Understand why this coin can be so valuable today. You must first understand its story. The United States entered the mid-1960s silver coin shortage and rising metal costs, so the U.S. mint changed materials. Quarters were made of 90% silver. The mint removed silver and switched to a copper-nickel clad composition. The 1967 quarter belongs to this new clad era and was produced during a major demand wave. Because Americans were hoarding silver coins, the mint minted more quarters than ever before. But here's where it gets interesting. Because of the chaos in U.S. coin circulation, in 1965, 1966, and 1967 the mint. This means heavy checkmark. Every 1967 quarter has no mint mark. Heavy checkmark. Minting quality control was inconsistent. Heavy checkmark. Some quarters were struck using experimental or leftover Planchets. Heavy checkmark. Rare mint errors appeared, and those are the ones that bring the huge money. Most people think 1967 quarter is not silver, so it's worthless. Not true. Collectors don't value coins only for their metal. They value small blue diamond rarity, small blue diamond high condition, small blue diamond mint errors, small blue diamond special die varieties, and 1967 is one of the most famous error years in the Washington quarter series. Some 1967 quarter varieties and rare errors are so unique that collectors will pay hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, and even six-figure prices for perfect or extraordinary examples. That let's break down how value happens. Most 1967 quarters are common because over 1.5 billion were minted. Typical worn examples. Backhand index pointing right value equals 25 cents. $1. So yes, most are ordinary. But now we move to the exciting stuff. A 1967 quarter in stunning condition that never entered circulation is called mint state, MS. The difference between MS-60 and MS-67 can mean MS-60 $20, MS-63 $50, MS-65 $200, MS-67 $1 500 plus, MS-68 $7,000 to $15,000 or more. Few 1,967 quarters survived in such clean, flawless condition because no mint sets or proof sets were released. Most were used immediately in circulation, so uncirculated top-grade examples are extremely valuable. Even though no official proof sets or mint sets were issued, the mint secretly produced special mint sets, SMS. 1967 SMS quarters have sparkles, sharper details, sparkles, satin, or proof-like surfaces, sparkles, very high collector demand. A regular SMS coin is worth heavy checkmark $50, $300, but the top quality SMS examples can reach collision $4,000 to $6,000, even $10,000 plus in highest grade because they are so rare in flawless condition. This is where values explode. Collectors pay massive amounts for fired double die obverse, DDO, fired double die reverse, DDR, fire wrong planchet, silver or foreign metal, fire off-center strike, fire broad strike, error, fire full collar strike, fire missing clad layer, showing copper, fire die cap, error, fire struck on nickel planchet, fire struck on penny planchet, and normal 25-cent coin suddenly becomes Moneybag $500 $300. Stop what you're doing and pull out any quarter you have in your pocket or coin roll. Now imagine that same coin, looking perfectly ordinary, is actually worth thousands of dollars, maybe even more. Yes, you heard right. One version of the 1983 P quarter dollar can be worth $10,000 plus, or even approaching $15,000 or more in top condition. That if you keep watching, by the end of this video you'll learn exactly which 1983 P quarters are rare, what to look for, and how to tell if yours could be one of those treasure coins that don't leave early. The big value clues are at the end. The coin you're looking at is the 1983 P. Washington quarter, minted at the Philadelphia P. Mint in 1983. According to U.S. Mint mintage figures, there were about 673,535,000 coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint for the year. As part of the standard Washington quarter series, 1932 onward for circulation, these coins were made for everyday use, which means most entered circulation, got worn, and many remain common today. Because of that high production, a typical 1983 P quarter is worth face value or just a modest premium if uncirculated. But here's the turning point. For certain high-grade coins and error types, the value skyrockets. According to the certified grading company Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, in MS66 condition, the 1983 P is very scarce, and in MS67 condition, extremely difficult to locate for the clad issue. Because of that, collectors have discovered that if one gets into top grade or has striking errors, the price jumps dramatically. When you analyze value, there are key factors: circulated, minimal value above face; uncirculated, mint state MS64, MS65, MS66, MS67. As the grade rises, the premium goes up. According to one guide, the most valuable recorded sale of a 1983 P was at MS65 at nearly $15,863 because of the large mintage. Perfect or near-perfect examples are very scarce. This creates premium value. Off-center strikes, filled-in mint mark, die cracking, Planchet flaws. All of these can create coins that are much more valuable than the standard issue. For example, some eBay listings for error 1983 P quarters list values of $10,000 plus. For major errors, many error coins still sell for relatively small amounts, but the rare ones with dramatic, verified errors command thousands. With 673 million produced, supply is large, but when only a handful exist in MS67 or error form, the rarity becomes meaningful. For example, PCGS says fewer than 500 known in MS66, less than a dozen at MS67. PCGS.com. Let's break down realistic value ranges for different conditions and error types. A standard 1983 P quarter in average circulated condition is worth face value, 25 cents, or a small premium, $0.50 to $1. If very clean. MS60, MS63, moderate premiums, $30 to $100. Depending on luster and eye appeal. MS64, MS65, $100 to $300 or so for nice coins. MS66, several $1,000s in some cases because it becomes rare. One guide lists MS66 as very scarce. MS67, extremely rare. One example sold for $15,863, as referenced earlier. So for a high-grade MS66/67 1983 P, you're looking at $5,000 to $15,000 plus in some cases. These are where values get very interesting. Off-center strikes. A 1983 P off-center coin can sell for $500 to $2,000 plus, depending on how far off-center. Filled mint mark or mint mark anomalies. Listings show thousands of dollars for dramatic errors. Pattern or rare Planchet errors. While not as widely documented for 1983 P as for some other years, any proven wrong Planchet or very dramatic error could command $10,000 to $30,000 plus or more, depending on condition and provenance. Extremely rare verified MS67 plus high grade, as noted, can reach $15,000 plus and perhaps higher with perfect strike and slabs. While there's no widely reported case of a 1983 P quarter selling for hundreds of thousands or millions, the market for modern error coins continues to evolve. A unique, one-of-a-kind, major Planchet error 1983 P might push into the six-figure territory if verified and graded, though this remains speculative and would require extraordinary circumstances, proven rarity plus perfect condition plus strong provenance. So you should be realistic but also aware. Hundreds to thousands are well documented. Tens of thousands definitely possible. Six-figure require unique error status. That if you suspect you might have a valuable 1983 P quarter, here's a step-by-step inspection guide. A P mint mark or no mint mark equals Philadelphia P mint. For the 1983 P, the mark is simply P on the obverse for the Philadelphia Mint. Note that most 1983 P quarters are common. The mark alone does not guarantee value. Use good lighting. Look at Washington's hair, cheek, ear, and the eagle's feathers on the reverse. Are details sharp, or are they worn? Check for scratches, bag marks, or surface faults. Higher grade means better value. Off-center strikes. Is part of the design missing or near the rim? Doubled die. Are letters doubled on Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date 1983? Filled in mint mark. Does the P look blobbed, filled, or abnormal? Planchet flaws. Does the coin appear thicker, thinner, wrong in metal appearance, die cracks, or raised lines? Look for raised metal cracks from the die, every one of. These can significantly increase value. If you are not a professional grader, compare with known examples or images online of MS65, MS66, etc. For a modern clad quarter like 1983, P to be MS66 or MS67 is rare and valuable. Place your coin in a holder or flip. Avoid cleaning it if you suspect high value. Consider sending for grading by PCGS or NGC. Slab coins always sell better. A guide lists the standout performer as a 1983 PMS65 that sold for $15,863. Coin identifier notes that typical uncirculated values with error are in the $46 to $150 range for non-dramatic coins.
Imagine reaching into your pocket change and finding a quarter worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars. That's not a fantasy, it's a real possibility if that coin happens to be a 1965-era Washington quarter dollar. What looks like just another piece of everyday pocket change could actually be one of the rarest treasures ever struck by the U.S. Mint today. We're diving deep into the story of how one small minting mistake in 1965 created some of the most valuable quarters in American history, and how a lucky few collectors have turned these coins into life-changing discoveries. But before we get into those jaw-dropping values, let's rewind time back to a year that changed American coinage forever. It's 1965. The U.S. Mint is facing a national crisis, a massive coin shortage caused by skyrocketing silver prices. People were hoarding silver coins, melting them down for profit, and the U.S. Treasury had to act fast. So, they made a historic decision. Starting that year, quarters would no longer be made of 90% silver. Instead, they switched to a copper-nickel clad composition, a copper core sandwiched between two layers of nickel. This change was meant to be smooth. But as with any major transition, mistakes happened, and those mistakes turned into hidden treasures for sharp-eyed collectors, during this chaotic switch from silver to clad plankets. Some leftover 1960 for silver blanks accidentally found their way into the presses meant for the new 1965 quarters. The result, a handful of 1965 Washington quarters that were struck on 90% silver plankets, coins that technically shouldn't exist. And when you find something that shouldn't exist, collectors go absolutely wild. So how rare are these silver 1965 quarters? Extremely rare. Only a few verified examples are known, and each one commands an astonishing price. One such coin sold for over $7,000, while another in pristine condition fetched nearly $10,000 at auction. But that's just the beginning. Certain minting errors from this same year have reached jaw-dropping figures in the hundreds of thousands, even crossing into million-dollar territory, depending on the condition, error type, and historical importance. To understand why, we need to look closer at how these coins came to be. When the U.S. Mint made the transition in 1965, they stopped stamping mint marks on quarters. So, whether a coin came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, it bore no identifying mark. That was meant to discourage hoarding, but it also made it much harder to trace where certain rare errors originated. Some collectors suspect that a few 1965 silver quarters were struck at the Denver Mint using leftover 196 for plankets. Others might have been made in Philadelphia by accident when silver blanks were mixed with the new clad stock. Take, for instance, the double die obverse error, where the coin's design was impressed twice onto the die, creating a ghostly doubling effect on some 1965 quarters. You can see this doubling in the word Liberty, or the motto, depending on how dramatic the doubling is, and the coin's condition. These errors can fetch anywhere from $3,000 to over $5,000. Then there's the off-center strike, where the coin's image is shifted noticeably to one side. If you find a 1965 quarter that's missing a big chunk of its design, but still shows a clear date, you might be holding something worth $1,000 to $3,000. The further off-center and clearer the date, the higher the value. Another fascinating variety is the broad strike error, coin that's been struck without its retaining collar, causing the edges to spread out like a pancake. A broad struck 1965 quarter can easily bring in $500 or more, and if it's in mint state condition, that number can double. But by far, the most famous and valuable 1965 errors are those that involve wrong plankets, coins struck on metal blanks intended for other denominations. For example, A 1965 quarter struck on a dime planchet, which is smaller and silver-colored, can sell for between $2,000 and $5,000. There are even rarer cases where a 1965 quarter was struck on a foreign planchet blanks, meant for coins from other countries, that were accidentally mixed into U.S. production. These unusual pieces can command astronomical prices, especially when authenticated by major grading services like PCGS or MGC. Perhaps the most legendary example, though, is the 1965 quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet, the so-called silver transition error. Only a handful of these coins are known to exist, and each one has become a collector's dream. The combination of historical importance, rarity, and the unmistakable silver shine make these coins irresistible. Some have sold for $7,000 to $10,000. While high-grade examples certified by PCGS or NGC can bring $20,000 to $50,000, and let's not forget there's always the possibility that an unrecognized specimen, sitting unnoticed in someone's coin jar or pocket change, could someday sell for hundreds of thousands, even millions. It's not impossible, it's happened before. Just imagine one small coin, sitting in circulation for decades, suddenly discovered to be a historic mint error worth more than a luxury car, a house, or even a fortune. So, how can you tell if your 1965 Washington quarter is one of these rare and valuable types? Here's what collectors look for first. Check the weight. A regular clad 1965 quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams, while the silver transitional error weighs closer to 6.25 grams, the same as pre-1965 silver quarters. If you have a digital scale and your coin tips closer to 6.25 grams, that's a huge red flag in a good way. Next, look at the color and shine. Clad quarters have a distinct copper-colored edge, visible when you look at the coin side. But silver quarters, they're solid white all the way through. If your 1965 quarter has no copper stripe and shines with a consistent silver luster, you could be looking at one of the rarest coins ever made. Finally, listen to the ring.